The alien borders had always seemed strong. Great fleets guarded them, and fortresses were built to frighten any invader. But now the aliens felt something different. Their scanners picked up countless signals, human warships moving together, steady and silent. They appeared at the very edge of alien space, their formations sharp, their movements precise. The galaxy had expected human ships to look small and weak. Instead, they looked powerful, like dark blades cutting through the stars. Their banners carried strange symbols. To the aliens, these were unfamiliar. But to humans, they were ancient signs of their myths: wolves, dragons, wings, fire, and crowns. The Galactic Council grew tense. In their grand hall, leaders from dozens of species whispered among themselves. Only months ago, they had laughed at human stories. They had mocked the idea that myths of gods, warriors, and heroes could mean anything in real life. But now, those same myths had become names of fleets, symbols of courage, and warnings that the humans were not to be dismissed. One alien delegate whispered, "They were telling us all along." Their myths were their truth. Human resolve, the human fleet did not rush forward with chaos. They moved with discipline. Admirals spoke calmly, their voices steady over the command channels. Every ship captain knew the plan. Every soldier knew their duty. They were not here to destroy without reason. They were here to defend their people, to answer the mockery, and to show that humans had always been fighters. Admiral Reyes stood at the command deck of the largest ship, the Ares, named after the god of war from old Earth. She looked at the stars ahead and saw the alien defense lines. She remembered the times when humans had almost been wiped out by war on their own planet, yet always survived. She knew the galaxy thought humans were weak dreamers, but those dreams had always taught them how to rise again. "Hold the line," she told her officers. "Show them our strength, but never forget. We fight for peace, not conquest." Her words spread across the fleet, carried to every ship. The humans were not invaders. They were defenders of their honor, their people, and their future. The first strike. When the alien border fleet challenged the humans, the sky lit up. Energy beams crossed the stars and ships clashed in silent explosions. But the humans fought differently than the aliens expected. They did not rely only on numbers or size. They used tactics from centuries of experience. They used deception, speed, and teamwork. Alien commanders shouted in panic. Their formations broke as human warships outmaneuvered them. Squadrons named after ancient myths struck like their namesakes. The Valkyrie wing descended with sudden precision, protecting their allies like the shield maidens of old. The Leviathan Guard moved slow but unstoppable, breaking through enemy lines like a giant beast from the seas of Earth's past. The aliens had never seen such coordination. In their councils, they had laughed that humans dreamed too much. Now they realized those dreams had become lessons. Humans had turned stories into strategies. The shock of the council back in the Galactic Council chamber, the alien leaders watched reports with disbelief. Screens showed human fleets advancing while maintaining perfect order. Casualty reports showed humans taking fewer losses than expected. "They cannot be doing this," one alien cried. "They are only a young race." But another older delegate spoke with a heavy voice. "They are not young. They are ancient. Their planet has tested them more than any of us ever knew. Their myths were warnings. We only laughed at them because we did not understand." Silence followed. The truth was clear. Humanity had survived hunger, storms, disasters, and wars for thousands of years. They had carried stories not just for entertainment, but to keep their spirit alive. Now, that spirit burned brighter than any weapon. Message of humanity, after the first great victory at the alien border. Admiral Reyes sent a message across the stars. Her voice was calm, steady, and without arrogance. "We came in peace," she said. "We told you our stories and you laughed at them. You thought they were weakness. But those stories were our history, our memory, and our strength. You struck at us first and now we answer. Not with destruction, but with proof. Humanity will not be silenced. Humanity will not bow. We will fight if we must, but what we truly seek is respect." Her message echoed across the galaxy. Many aliens were shaken. They had expected threats, anger, and cruelty. Instead, humans spoke of peace, honor, and survival. For the first time, the Council began to see humans not as dreamers, but as equals. The turning point. The war along the border did not last long. Human fleets pushed the hostile powers back, but they did not cross further. They stopped at the enemy's gates, showing control rather than hunger for conquest. This surprised many alien leaders. "Why stop now?" one asked. "They could crush us if they wished," another answered quietly. "Because their myths do not speak of greed. They speak of justice." The realization spread. Humans fought not to dominate, but to prove they were not to be mocked or dismissed. They wanted peace, but only peace that came with dignity. Respect earned soon. Delegations from alien worlds requested talks with the humans. They wanted to understand the myths that once seemed foolish. They asked to hear about Hercules, about Arthur, about the Valkyries and Leviathans, and when they listened, they no longer laughed. They nodded, realizing those tales were more than stories. They were reminders of endurance, hope, and courage. The Galactic Council passed a new decree. Humanity would no longer be treated as weak or childish. They would hold a respected seat among the elder races. The final whisper, when the humans returned home, their fleets glowing in triumph. Earth celebrated not with prideful arrogance, but with quiet satisfaction. They had proved themselves without becoming monsters. Among the aliens, however, whispers continued to grow. In private chambers, leaders asked each other the same question. If this is what humans can do now, when they are still so new to the stars, what will they become in 1,000 years? No one could answer. But all of them knew one truth. The galaxy would never laugh at human myths again. Closing scene on the command deck of the Ares. Admiral Reyes stood alone for a moment, looking out at the stars. She remembered the ancient words of an old Earth poet. "We are made of stories, and stories make us strong." She smiled softly and whispered to herself, "Let them remember our myths, because tomorrow they will become our future." And with that, the human fleet turned toward home, their banners still glowing across the stars, carrying with them not just victory, but the respect of a galaxy that finally understood. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass of the command deck, quiet and beautiful. Captain Elias Kale sat in his chair, his gaze fixed on the dark horizon. His ship, the Horizon's Light, drifted through the outer edges of the Carina Nebula, far away from familiar trade routes. Most captains avoided this region, calling it cursed, but Elias had never been the kind of man to turn away from the unknown. For him, the unexplored corners of the galaxy held a pull stronger than any command from the Galactic Council. He believed that somewhere out there were secrets waiting for a curious human to uncover. The ship's AI, a calm female voice named Lyra, broke the silence. "Captain, I am detecting an unusual energy fluctuation. Coordinates are being marked on the nav screen." Elias leaned forward, eyebrows lifting as he studied the glowing marker on the map. How unusual. Lyra's voice held a hint of unease, though she was only a machine. "It does not match any known star, ship, or station signatures. It feels old, very old." That caught Elias's attention. In his years of service, he had heard rumors of derelict stations and forgotten civilizations, but nothing had ever been confirmed. The Galactic Council had files locked away about vanished empires, but those were sealed to all but the highest ranks. He stood, his reflection in the glass showing a man in his mid-30s, sharp-eyed, with a faint scar tracing across his cheek, a memory from a battle long past. His uniform was simple, not the polished style of the Council Navy, but the practical gear of an explorer. "Set a course, Lyra," he said. "Let's see what this mystery is hiding." The ship glided forward, cutting through the bright swirls of cosmic gas. The nebula glowed in shades of blue and violet, waves of light bending around hidden clusters of dust and stone. Elias watched, his chest tightening with excitement. After several hours, the ship slowed. "Captain," Lyra said, "we have arrived at the source. Visuals are coming online now." The screen lit up. Elias's breath caught. Before him was a massive structure floating silently in the heart of the nebula. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was neither a ship nor a station, but something in between. The surface seemed alive, half metal, half organic, pulsing faintly with light. Long, curved spires reached out like the arms of some great creature, and faint streams of energy moved across its skin like veins. "By the stars," Elias whispered. "What are you?" Lyra sounded unsettled. "This construction does not match any archive data. Caution is advised," Elias smiled slightly. Caution never discovered anything new. Ignoring the AI's protests, he donned his exploration suit and prepared a shuttle. The council would have ordered him to wait for a full research fleet, but Elias knew that if he reported it, the discovery would be taken from him. He had followed his instincts his whole life, and they had never failed him. The shuttle slipped out of the hangar and drifted toward the structure. The closer he came, the more details he saw. Strange symbols glowed faintly across the surface, written in a language older than anything known. Some areas looked scarred, as if the structure had survived a great battle long ago. His shuttle latched onto an opening that resembled a doorway. With a hiss, the hatch opened and Elias stepped inside. The interior was vast and silent. The walls pulsed with soft blue light, casting long shadows that danced as he moved. His footsteps echoed faintly, the sound swallowed by the strange, living metal beneath his boots. The air was breathable, though he had no idea how. Recording all visuals, Lyra's voice whispered in his helmet. Elias walked deeper. Strange shapes lined the halls, statues perhaps, or machines frozen in time. He touched one gently, and it pulsed faintly beneath his fingers, as if still alive. Then he entered a chamber that made him stop cold. At the center stood a figure. She was tall, graceful and bathed in faint golden light. Her form was humanoid, but her presence was unlike anything human. Her hair seemed to flow like liquid silver, her eyes glowing softly as if they carried stars within them. She was not a statue. She was alive. Elias froze, his heart hammering. His mind told him this was impossible, an encounter with a living being from a civilization long thought gone. Yet as he stared, awe overcame fear. The words slipped out of him without thought. A whisper carried into the silence of the chamber. She is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. At that moment, the figure turned. Her glowing eyes met his, and Elias felt as if the entire universe had narrowed to that one instant. There was no sound, no movement, only the intensity of her gaze. It was not cold or hostile. It was curious, like a person seeing the first sunrise after endless night. A soft hum filled the chamber. The figure stepped forward slowly, her movement smooth and otherworldly. She tilted her head, studying him with an expression that seemed both ancient and new. Elias felt his breath catch. He wanted to speak but found no words. Then, without moving her lips, a voice echoed in his mind. It was clear, calm, and musical. "You are not one of my kind," Elias blinked, stunned. You can speak to me?" The voice filled him again, patient and curious. "Not speak. Share thought. It has been long since I touched another mind." His shock slowly gave way to wonder. He forced himself to stand tall, to speak clearly. "My name is Elias Kell. I'm human." An explorer. There was a pause. Then her voice returned, soft as starlight. "Human," she repeated, as if tasting the word for the first time. "Yes, I have seen your kind in distant echoes. A young race, full of fire." Elias swallowed hard. "Who are you?" The figure's glow seemed to brighten faintly. "I am Aurelia, the last guardian of what was once eternal. Now, only silence remains." Her words carried a sadness so deep that Elias felt it in his bones. He wanted to ask more, but before he could speak again, the chamber walls pulsed with sudden light. Strange symbols flared to life, and the ground beneath him trembled faintly. Lyra's voice broke through his helmet. "Captain, energy readings are spiking. We should retreat immediately." But Elias could not move. His eyes remained locked on Aurelia, and her gaze stayed fixed on him. For the first time in his life, Elias Kale felt that the galaxy had just opened a door meant only for him, and stepping through it would change everything. The chamber remained silent except for the faint hum of the walls. Elias stood frozen, his heart still racing from the strange voice in his head. Aurelia's eyes glowed like twin stars, calm yet piercing, as though she could see every thought moving inside him. "You are far from your home," her voice echoed in his mind again. "Why have you come here, human?" Elias took a slow breath. His training told him to remain cautious, to never reveal too much, but his curiosity pushed him forward. "I follow what others fear," he said. "I search for what has been forgotten." Aurelia tilted her head slightly, her silver hair shifting like water. "Then fate has guided you. For what is forgotten is me." The sadness in her tone pressed heavily against his chest. He wanted to ask what she meant, but Aurelia raised one hand. The chamber brightened, the walls coming alive with shifting images. Elias gasped. He saw visions, vast cities of crystal and metal, towers stretching higher than mountains, skies filled with great ships that glowed with power. A people shining and proud walked those cities. They were like Aurelia, tall and radiant, beings who seemed almost woven of light. "This was my people," Aurelia said softly, her voice like a whisper of wind. "We were called the Alindra. We walked the stars when your world was still young. We built wonders across the galaxy." Elias's eyes widened. "But there are no records of you. No mention in the council archives. It is as if you never existed." Aurelia's expression darkened. The glowing images shifted. The beautiful cities burned. Ships shattered. An endless shadow spread across the stars. Elias felt a chill crawl through him as he saw it. A vast, shifting darkness that consumed everything it touched. "We called it the Silence," Aurelia said. "Not a weapon. Not a fleet. A presence. A hunger that erased us. One by one, our worlds fell. Our voices faded. Our light was swallowed. And when all was lost, I was left alone to guard the last echo of my people." Elias stared, his throat dry. The vision disappeared, leaving only the faint glow of the chamber. He struggled to find words. "You've been here. Alone. For how long?" he asked quietly. Aurelia's eyes grew distant, as though she was looking through centuries. "Time has no meaning here. I have watched stars die. I have seen empires rise and crumble. And always I have waited, waiting for something, or someone." Elias felt a weight settle in his chest. To live with such loss, such silence, was beyond anything he could imagine. Yet she stood before him still, graceful, unbroken. "I don't understand," he admitted. "Why me? Why now?" Aurelia stepped closer, her glow warming the air around her. For a moment, Elias thought he could hear a faint heartbeat, not his own. "Because your kind is different," she said. "Humans, I have felt whispers of your rise. You are fragile, yet unyielding, small, yet boundless. When others surrender, you resist. When others hide, you push forward." Her eyes locked onto his, their glow brightening. "That is why I reveal myself to you. Only your people may stand against the silence should it return." Elias's mind reeled. "The silence? It can come back?" Aurelia nodded slowly. "It never died. It only sleeps. And when it wakes again, it will consume all, unless a spark refuses to be swallowed." The chamber trembled faintly, as though echoing her warning. Lyra's voice cut through the moment, sharp and urgent. "Captain, I am reading unstable energy fluctuations all around us. I advise immediate extraction." Elias ignored her. His eyes never left Aurelia. "If what you say is true, why not tell the Galactic Council? They have fleets, armies." Aurelia raised her hand, and Elias felt a soft wave of energy silence his words. "The Council? They are old. They are bound by fear and rules. They will deny until it is too late. No, Elias Kale, they cannot be the ones. The spark must come from where it burns strongest, your kind." Elias swallowed hard. He thought of Earth, of the colonies scattered among the stars. Humanity was still young compared to the ancient civilizations of the galaxy. They had only begun to stretch their wings. And yet Aurelia was saying they held something others did not. He studied her carefully. Part of him wanted to trust her completely, to accept her every word. Another part warned him that this could be a trap, that she could be manipulating him. But looking into her glowing eyes, he sensed no deception. Only hope. "I don't know if I can do what you ask," he admitted. Her expression softened. For the first time, Elias thought he saw a faint smile touch her lips. "You already have," she whispered in his mind. "You came when others would turn away. You listened when others would cover their ears. That is the beginning." The chamber's glow dimmed slightly, as if the structure itself was weakening. Aurelia looked around with concern. "This place will not hold forever," she said. "The silence left scars even here. Soon it may collapse." Elias nodded slowly. "Then come with me. Leave this place." For a long moment, Aurelia did not answer. Her eyes lowered, her hands clasping before her. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a heavy weight. "I cannot. My duty is here. I was made guardian. If I leave, the last memory of my people fades with me." Elias stepped closer. "Then you'll die alone, guarding dust and silence. That's not honor. That's a cage." Her eyes lifted to meet his, and for the first time, Elias saw conflict in her expression. She was torn, bound by duty, but yearning for release. Before she could answer, the chamber shook violently. Cracks of light ran across the walls, energy sparking like lightning. Lyra's voice rang urgently. "Captain, structural collapse imminent. We must evacuate now." Elias looked back at Aurelia. Come with me, please. Her gaze lingered on him. At last she whispered, If I leave, it will be because of you. She raised her hand and light wrapped around them both. Elias felt his body lift, weightless as the chamber crumbled around them. In a flash, they were outside, standing on the surface of the great structure. Pieces of it drifted away into the nebula like dying embers. Elias's shuttle was still docked nearby. He grabbed Aurelia's hand, warm, alive, and led her toward it. She followed without resistance, her silver hair flowing like a river of light in the darkness. As the shuttle doors closed behind them, Elias let out a long breath. His hands trembled slightly, though he tried to hide it. You'll be safe here, he said softly. Aurelia looked at him, her eyes glowing gently. Safe? No, Elias Kale, safety is an illusion. But perhaps hope is not. Her words lingered in the air as the shuttle detached, leaving the collapsing structure behind. For the first time in millennia, Aurelia was no longer alone, and for the first time in his life, Elias felt that his journey into the unknown had truly begun. Word count, 25. This part deepens the mystery, reveals Aurelia's past, introduces the silence, and builds the bond between her and Elias while keeping it simple and engaging. Do you want me to continue with part 3, the bond, 1300 words in the same style? You said, part 3. 1300 words ka leko or interesting hona chahiye or third-person style ma lekhni ha or simple basic English ka. Don't use any violated word. So please avoid any violated content, ChatGPT said. Perfect. Let's move forward with part 3, the bond. I'll continue in third-person style, using simple, clear English and keep it engaging and safe, no violated content. Length will be around 1300 words. Part 3, the bond. The shuttle glided smoothly through the glowing clouds of the nebula, leaving the collapsing structure behind. Inside, Elias sat in silence, his hands steady on the controls, though his mind was anything but calm. Beside him, Aurelia sat quietly, her golden glow soft but unmistakable in the dim cabin. For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the gentle hum of the engines. Finally, Aurelia broke the silence, her voice echoing softly in his mind. This vessel, it feels alive in its own way. Elias smiled faintly. That would be Lyra. She's the ship's intelligence. She keeps me from flying into stars. The AI's calm voice filled the cabin. Correction, Captain. I keep you from making reckless decisions that may lead to catastrophic outcomes. Elias chuckled. See what I mean? Aurelia tilted her head, her silver hair catching the faint light. Strange. Your machines have voices, yet they feel bound by rules. My people built wonders greater than this, yet we never gave them souls. Lyra answered quickly, I do not possess a soul. But Elias noticed the faint pause in her tone as if she questioned her own words. Aurelia, too, seemed to notice, for she gave a small, knowing smile. When the shuttle docked with the horizon's light, Elias helped Aurelia step aboard. The ship's corridors were narrow and plain compared to the glowing ruins she had come from, but she studied them with the wonder of someone stepping into a new world. It is small, she said softly, running her hand across the metal wall. But it carries warmth. It feels human. Elias wasn't sure what she meant, but something in her voice made him proud. Sharing stories, over the next days as the ship moved away from the nebula, Aurelia and Elias spent long hours together. She learned about humanity through his words, and he learned of her people through her memories. He told her about Earth, the oceans that stretched endlessly, the forests filled with life, the snow that blanketed mountains. He spoke of the struggles of humanity, how they had faced war, hunger, and storms, yet had always found a way to rise again. Aurelia listened intently, her golden eyes wide with fascination. Your people are so young, and yet your spirit burns bright, the observation deck. Elias turned toward her. The days passed quietly aboard the horizon's light. Elias and Aurelia had settled into a rhythm, their conversations filling the long hours of travel. Sometimes they spoke of great things, history, civilizations, and the fate of the stars. Other times, they spoke of simple matters, music, food, and the strange little joys of being human. But beneath the calm, both of them felt the weight of something larger pressing in from the darkness. It began with whispers, not voices, but faint ripples of energy that moved through the ship's systems. Lights flickered, instruments spiked, and Lyra's calm voice grew sharper each day. Captain, she said one morning, I am detecting fluctuations in subspace. These disturbances match no known phenomena. They are spreading. Elias stood on the bridge, frowning at the glowing screens. Spreading from where? Lyra hesitated. From the heart of the nebula. From where we found Aurelia. Elias turned to look at her. She stood near the viewing window, her golden glow dimmer than before. Her face was calm, but her eyes revealed the truth she already knew. It is the silence, she said softly. The words chilled the air. Elias clenched his fists. I thought it was only a memory. Something long past. Aurelia shook her head. The silence does not die. It sleeps and it wakes. Always it returns. Elias took a sharp breath. Then we warn the Council. They need to know what's coming. The Council's denial. The message took days to reach the Galactic Council. Elias's reputation as an explorer earned him an audience, though it was through a cold transmission rather than in person. The Council chamber appeared on the screen. Tall figures from many races sitting in a circle of light. Their voices were layered, formal, and distant. Captain Elias Kyle, one of them began. Your report speaks of an ancient being and a threat you call the silence. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Elias held his ground. I've seen it. I've stood inside ruins that your records claim don't exist. Aurelia is real. She is standing beside me. Aurelia stepped forward into the view of the transmission, her glow undeniable. For a moment silence fell over the chamber. Then another counselor spoke. If what you claim is true, then this being is a weapon of unimaginable value. Bring her to us for study. Elias's jaw tightened. She's not a weapon. She's a survivor. The council's voices grew colder. Human imagination is known for exaggeration. We will not divert fleets or resources based on one man's story. The galaxy faces enough real threats. The screen went dark. Elias cursed under his breath, slamming his fist against the console. They won't listen. They'll sit in their towers until the shadow swallows them whole. Aurelia's voice was calm, though sorrow filled her words. It is as I said. The council is bound by fear and pride. They cannot see beyond their walls. Elias turned to her, determination burning in his eyes. Then we do this ourselves. If they won't act, we will. The ancient weapon Aurelia led Elias into the heart of the ship one evening, guiding him with quiet steps. She touched the wall and golden light spread across the panels, revealing a hidden chamber Elias had never seen before. Inside was a strange device, half crystal, half machine, shaped like a great sphere with lines of energy carved into it. Elias stared in awe. What is this? Aurelia's voice was soft, almost reverent. The last creation of my people. A weapon not of destruction, but of balance. It was built to face the silence, but it could not be activated by us alone. She placed her hand on the glowing sphere, and faint lights began to pulse across its surface. It requires two, she explained. One of my kind for knowledge and control, and one of another, someone who carries unpredictability, choice, and will. That is why I waited. Elias stepped closer. You mean, it needs a human? Aurelia nodded. It needs you. Elias hesitated, staring at the sphere. His heart pounded. The idea of controlling something made by an ancient race was overwhelming. What if I fail? He asked quietly. Aurelia looked at him, her golden eyes calm but filled with weight. Then everything falls. But if you succeed, then perhaps light will rise again. Her trust both steadied and frightened him. He placed his hand on the sphere beside hers. Instantly, a surge of energy rushed through him. He saw flashes of stars, shadows, endless fire, and then stillness. His knees buckled, but Aurelia caught him before he fell. It will take time, she said gently. Your mind must learn to shape its flow, but you are stronger than you believe. Fears and hopes that night, Elias could not sleep. He sat on the deck, staring out at the stars. His thoughts were a storm, fear, doubt, determination. Aurelia joined him quietly, sitting beside him with the same grace she always carried. You doubt yourself, she said softly. Elias laughed bitterly. Of course I do. I'm just one man, Aurelia, one human with a small ship. How can I fight something that devoured your people? Aurelia studied him for a long moment. Then she said, because you do not fight as one. You fight as many. Every choice you make carries the voices of those before you. Every step forward carries the weight of all who refuse to stop. That is humanity's strength. Elias turned to her, surprised by the warmth in her voice. He realized she truly believed in him, not just as a tool for her ancient weapon, but as someone who mattered. He lowered his voice. And you? After everything, after centuries of silence, why do you still hope? Her eyes softened. Because you came. You found me. You listened. That is hope enough. For the first time, Elias reached out and gently touched her hand. She did not pull away. Their silence was no longer empty. It was full. The darkness wakes. The peace did not last. One evening, alarms echoed through the ship. Lyra's voice rose, sharper than Elias had ever heard. Captain, a wave of energy is moving toward us at impossible speed. It consumes the stars as it passes. Analysis confirms it matches Aurelia's description. It is the silence. Elias rushed to the bridge, Aurelia close behind. Through the viewing window he saw it, a wall of darkness spreading across the sky, swallowing stars like drops of water in an ocean. The sight froze him. It was not a fleet, not a weapon, but a force of nature, endless and unstoppable. Aurelia's face grew pale. It wakes sooner than I feared. Elias gripped the controls. Then we have no time left. Lyra's voice trembled, though machines were not supposed to fear. Captain, this ship cannot outrun it. If it reaches us, we are finished. Aurelia stepped forward, her glow flaring brighter than before. Not finished, prepared. She turned to Elias, her eyes locking onto his. The time has come. Together we must face it. Elias's heart pounded, but he nodded firmly. Then let's do it. They rushed to the chamber of the ancient weapon. The great sphere pulsed with energy, as if it too felt the approaching darkness. Elias placed his hand on it beside Aurelia's. The power surged again, stronger this time, filling both of them with light and heat. The ship trembled as the weapon awoke. Outside, the silence loomed closer, its shadow stretching across the stars. Elias gritted his teeth, forcing his mind to stay steady against the flood of visions and power. He felt Aurelia's presence beside him, guiding him, steadying him. Do not fight the flow, she whispered in his mind. Shape it. Let it become what it must. Together they stood in the chamber, their hands glowing against the sphere as the endless shadow closed in. For the first time in centuries, Aurelia was not alone. For the first time in his life, Elias was more than just an explorer. They were humanity and memory, standing side by side against the dark, and the galaxy would soon learn if their spark was enough. The ship trembled as if the universe itself had begun to shiver. Outside the viewing windows, the black wave of the silence rolled forward. It was not just absence, it was hunger. Stars winked out as it touched them, their light gone forever. The galaxy seemed to shrink with every heartbeat. Inside the horizon's light, Elias and Aurelia stood with their hands pressed against the ancient sphere. Golden and white energy danced across their bodies, binding them together in a web of light. Lyra's voice echoed through the chamber, tense and fast. Warning, structural integrity is falling. The pressure of the silence is warping space around us. If we do not act soon, the ship will collapse. Elias gritted his teeth. Then we act now. The energy inside the sphere surged into him, filling his mind with visions. He saw endless timelines, countless choices, rivers of futures flowing into darkness. It was too much. He felt his mind bending under the weight. Aurelia's voice touched him like a steady hand. Do not try to control it all. Shape only what you can. That is the human gift, choice. He breathed hard, forcing himself to focus. A single choice. A single spark. That was enough. The first strike, the weapon came alive. The entire ship glowed with golden light, its metal bending into new shapes as the sphere's energy flowed outward. The hull expanded, shifting into patterns older than the council itself. Outside, a beam of light erupted from the ship, cutting into the wall of the silence. For the first time, the black wave slowed. On the bridge, Lyra's voice carried shock. Unbelievable. The energy is pushing back the void. Captain, it is working. But Aurelia's face was grave. Not enough. It is endless. One beam cannot stop eternity. Elias felt the truth of her words. The silence was not an enemy to kill. It was a force like a storm or a sea. Yet storms could be redirected, seas could be guided. He pressed harder against the sphere, focusing all his will. Then we guide it, he whispered. The beam shifted, not just striking, but shaping. It carved a path through the black wave, a narrow channel of light where the stars still shone. The silence recoiled from the edges of that path as if uncertain. Elias gasped. We can hold it back. We can buy time. Aurelia turned to him, her golden glow brightening. More than time. We can teach the stars to resist. The call to humanity Lyra's system sparked as she processed the rising energy. Captain, I am detecting resonance spreading across subspace. Other ships can see this. They are watching. Elias realized the truth. The Council, the fleets, the scattered colonies, all of them were witnessing the horizon's light stand against the impossible. He raised his voice, speaking through Lyra's channels, broadcasting to anyone who could hear. This is Captain Elias Kale. Humanity does not bow to darkness. We are proof that one voice, one choice can push back the endless night. If you can hear me, do not hide. Do not surrender. Stand. Fight. Be more than what you fear. Across the stars, messages began to return. Ships powered up their engines. Civilizations long divided turned their eyes toward the same light. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's races listened not to the Council, but to a human. Aurelia smiled faintly. This is what I hoped. Not a weapon of one, but a spark for many. The Council breaks back in their chamber. The Galactic Council watched the broadcast with disbelief. Their carefully measured control slipped as reports came from every system. Fleets were leaving their stations. Worlds were rising in unity. This is dangerous, one counselor hissed. If humans inspire rebellion, another interrupted. If the silence is real, we cannot afford to doubt. Look at the stars. Look at what they are doing. For the first time in their long history, the Council's voices fractured. Their authority crumbled not with war, but with hope. Aurelia's gift inside the sphere's chamber. Aurelia's glow burned brighter, almost blinding. Elias turned to her, alarmed. You're fading. She shook her head gently. Not fading, giving. Golden streams of energy flowed from her into the sphere. Elias felt the power grow heavier, stronger. He nearly collapsed, but her presence steadied him. This was always my purpose, she whispered. To guide another. To ensure that when the silence returned, light would answer. Elias's chest tightened. No, you can't burn yourself away. We need you. Her smile was soft. You do not need me forever. You only need me now. And I choose this. The words struck deep. For centuries she had lived in silence, carrying the weight of her lost people. Now she chose to give her last strength to the future. Elias's voice broke. Then I'll carry it with you. I won't let you go alone. He pressed harder against the sphere, pouring every memory, every dream, every stubborn piece of human will into the light. Together, their voices merged, human and ancient, shaping the storm. The final stand. The silence crashed harder now, pressing against their narrow path of light. The ship shook violently, alarm screaming. Lyra's voice cracked with static. Warning, hull at breaking point. Energy systems collapsing. Elias shouted through the storm. We can't hold it much longer. Aurelia's voice was faint yet steady. Then release it. Not as a weapon. As a seed, Elias understood. Not to destroy the silence, but to scatter light across the stars. To give others the means to fight, to hope, to stand. He closed his eyes and let go. The sphere exploded with brilliance. From the horizon's light, waves of energy rippled outward, racing across systems, embedding themselves in ships, worlds, and even the very fabric of space. Every civilization felt it, a spark within them, a shield against the void. The silence roared, but for the first time it was not endless. It broke against the rising wall of unity, unable to consume what now resisted. Elias opened his eyes. The wave still loomed, but it was no longer unstoppable. The galaxy had lit its fires. Humanity's spark had spread. The aftermath silence returned, not the devouring one, but the quiet after a storm. The ship floated, damaged but alive. Elias collapsed to the floor, his body trembling. He turned to Aurelia. She was fading, her golden form almost transparent. Yet her eyes shone with peace. You did it, she whispered. You carried the spark. Tears burned his eyes. We did it. Don't leave me now. She touched his cheek, her hand light as air. I was the last of my people. But through you, through humanity, I am not gone. You will remember, and that is enough. Her glow broke into streams of light, scattering into the air, sinking into the walls of the ship, into the stars beyond. For a moment, the entire galaxy seemed to shine. Elias fell to his knees, the emptiness in his chest deeper than space itself. Yet in that emptiness burned a steady flame. She was not gone. She lived in every spark they had given. Lyra's voice came softly. Captain, Aurelia is gone. Elias stood slowly, his eyes on the stars. His voice was hoarse but firm. No, she's everywhere now. Humanity's spark in the weeks that followed, reports spread across the galaxy. Ships now carried fragments of Aurelia's gift, shields of light that could hold back the silence. Worlds united, fleets trained together, and for the first time, the galaxy stood not as many but as one, and at the center of it all was a single human story. One man, one voice, one spark that had refused to die. Elias remained aboard the Horizon's light, his heart heavy but unbroken. Whenever he looked at the stars, he remembered her. The way she had turned around that first day, the way her eyes had met his, the way she had whispered hope even against eternity. She is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. He whispered again, not just Aurelia, but what she had given him. The courage to believe that even in the darkest silence, humanity's spark would endure, and as long as that spark burned, the galaxy would never be alone again.